If he doesn't fight him in 2024, then I can officially say, yeah, Canelo's running. He's ducking him. Benavidez has finally done enough. He stepped up to the plate and he's fought Caleb Plant, Demetrius Andrade, and he just has a lot of hype around him, a lot of momentum. They can sell it as a Mexico versus Mexico. That fight's next, man. That's Canelo's next opponent.
No, Berlanga is not at that level. Ever since they decided to step him up, he's really regressed, in my opinion. I mean, he's gotten dropped. He hasn't looked very good. He's honestly looked like a B, C level fighter, in my opinion. I do think Gervonta Davis, he is one of the best in boxing, but I want to see that skill being displayed against top fighters. Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney. Gervonta Davis hasn't done that. He hasn't fought them. And that's my issue with it. He's a great fighter with the potential to be the very best of his era. But I just feel that he just managed a bit too safely, which, I mean, it is the Mayweather way. This Frank Martin fight is a big one for me because I do think Frank Martin is a quality opponent. And if he's able to show out against Frank Martin, then I will for sure give him his props. Welcome back to another episode of the Last Round Podcast, where we cover traditional boxing to influencer boxing and everything in between. For today's episode, we'll be covering Edgar Berlanga as he won successfully this past weekend and talking about his call out to the number one pound for pound fighter. Not really, though, but the face of boxing for sure, Canelo Álvarez. We'll also be covering the whole entire landscape of 168, as well as David Benavidez' surprising move to 175, and the fight acceptance or agreement between Frank Martin and Gervonta Davis. But before we get into the episode, make sure to like and subscribe, as well as follow us on all our social medias. The link is down in the description below. So let's get right into it. Edgar Berlanga this past weekend successfully and finally got that knockout win that he has not gotten since 2020. So nearly 4 years he's been fighting and he has not gotten a KO win. But this past weekend he was finally able to get that KO win against what's his name? Patrick McCrory, an Irishman, undefeated, 18-0 during the time with 9 knockouts. And Edgar Berlanga had some things to say on the post-fight interview, which I think was, it kind of rubbed off the wrong way to a lot of people, but it is what it is. What are you guys' thoughts first off about Edgar Berlanga and his performance?
Yeah, he finally did get a win. I mean, he's 6 fights, I think he went without getting a knockout. And this is a guy that was known, early in his career as like the next knockout artist. He went 16-16 KOs, all by knockout in the first round.
Crazy.
Yeah, so they're saying, he's the next monster. He was supposed to represent Puerto Rico.
The next Trinidad.
Yeah, the next Trinidad. And then it didn't really go out like that. It hasn't panned out for him. He finally got his KO win after such a long time against McCrory. And but honestly, I really wasn't that impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, I was underwhelmed. Yeah, I was expecting a little bit more, considering the fact that he is ranked at the moment. Before the fight, he was ranked number 11 in the whole entire world at 168, and his opponent was ranked, I think, number 26. So in the 20s. I was a little bit surprised that he was kind of crying afterwards. Yeah, because
it was emotional for him, bro.
Yeah, very emotional. You can tell definitely the pressure was on his shoulders. Okay, it's a good thing he got the victory, the KO victory and whatnot. But still I was expecting a little bit more, expecting him to stop him very much earlier. McCrory didn't really have much of an answer for him. He was a little bit cautious, or actually very much cautious of Berlanga. So I mean, congrats. We'll see what the next option for him is, but not very much impressed.
Yeah, I feel like you mentioned right now, McCrory didn't have an answer for any, or didn't offer anything of really of much for Berlanga to be wary of. A lot of danger. McCrory, for me, I felt he was a little stiff. I think the limelight got to him a bit. I mean, Berlanga, I guess he does have the reputation of being a power puncher, but he hasn't really shown it. So I was surprised that McCrory was giving him as much respect as he was. And I mean, every single right that landed on McCrory, it seemed like it was buckling his knee. You saw his legs; he would buckle.
Yeah.
Overall, I wasn't really that impressed. I mean, the knockout was pretty good, in my opinion, but overall, the performance of Berlanga, I mean, besides the elbow, I don't think I was very, I'm not sold on him.
Yeah, he doesn't seem anything special. I mean, I don't believe his skills are enough to contend with the top of 168. You know, this is a division that is extremely stacked. Of course, we have the undisputed champion being Canelo Álvarez, which he is now the mandatory too, which is kind of surprising to me. I really couldn't believe that him beating a guy ranked number 26 would propel him to be mandatory for one of Canelo's belts. He has done nothing at 168. I don't think he deserves that, and I don't think people really even want to watch that either. You know, they don't want to. I don't think. I think for Canelo, people want to see Benavidez. So yeah, I don't think it was that good of an idea. But
you wouldn't like that fight?
No, I mean not really.
Against Mexico?
I would like it, but
Yeah.
I don't think he deserves it. You know, he hasn't done anything, bro. What has he done at 168?
He beat McCory.
He beat Jason Quigley.
Jason Quigley. You think he's gonna get the And then he beat Rolls, I think.
Oh yeah.
He beat Steve
that one I thought he lost. I thought he lost.
Yeah.
I don't know. Berlanga is not at that level. I think he's definitely, ever since they decided to step him up, he's really regressed in my opinion. I mean, he's gotten dropped. He hasn't looked very good. And he's honestly looked like a B, C level fighter in my opinion. So, I mean, if he's somehow, you know, Eddie Hearns, you know, he and Canelo have a really good relationship. If Eddie Hearns is somehow able to get Berlanga a Canelo payday, I think Eddie Hearns has got to be the best promoter of all time, man. Because I mean, Berlanga, like you mentioned, I don't believe he's done enough or done really much of anything to even deserve a fight with Canelo. And with a fight with Canelo, even if you lose, you get that massive payday. So in my opinion, I don't think Berlanga should go. If I was in this team, you know, I'd probably pressure him to go for Canelo.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a smart business
it's a smart move.
Yeah.
But I mean, he'd get destroyed. He'd get mauled. I'd rather have him fight a Jaime Munguia, maybe a Diego Pacheco. See what level he's at, because I mean, McCory is clearly not at the level of like a Jaime Munguia, like I mentioned, or a Diego Pacheco, or a Christian Mbili, Caleb Plant. Yeah, every single one of Berlanga's opponents are not at that level. So maybe step him up again, see what he can do, and see what level he's actually at. Because if he fights Munguia and let's say he beats Munguia, then that could propel him to actually have a some sort of a leverage, you know, or at least have some type of something to try to respect, you know, from the fans and from, you know, just from everyone.
Yeah, I actually like that fight. If he wants to, you know, get respect, if he wants a Mexico versus Puerto Rico fight still, then feed him Jaime Munguia. You know, no one wants to watch that Canelo fight. Yeah, Benavidez Canelo should be next. I think a Munguia fight would be perfect, because if he wins, yeah, he's going to get the credit that he actually wants. He's going to get leverage, and then he can challenge like Canelo or something. But if we're being truthful, I think Jaime Munguia knocks him out. I don't think he's on the level of Berlanga, you know?
Yeah, I don't consider him an A-level fighter. Maybe B, but even then I consider him a C++. Because he's really not there. Like he's shown against that one dude from Argentina. He was a journeyman.
Yeah.
Dropped him. And then Steve Rolls, he couldn't stop him. Actually, Steve gave him a lot of trouble. So yeah, against a guy like Berlanga, who now has officially entered the A-list elites at 168, yeah, I would say Munguia would definitely eat him up. So Berlanga does have quite a bit of work to do. Because he has Eddie Hearn as a promoter, he could definitely sell out that, you know, Mexico against Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's Munguia, whether it's Canelo, although, you know, I don't think Canelo is within the next opponent, but yeah, for sure maybe a Munguia. But even then, like, he's not even ready for any of the A-list elites at 168.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I think Munguia, I don't think he knocks him. I think he just stops him.
Stops him?
Yeah, he's too much. I believe Munguia's pressure, he's so relentless in there, and he just hits you with volume, and he's heavy-handed as well. And I mean, this last fight with McCory, Berlanga and McCory, first round, they did absolutely nothing. The output was pretty low throughout the fight. I was genuinely surprised of how hesitant even Berlanga was at points. Like, he didn't want to engage. He was more comfortable in trying to wait for McCory to take the initiative rather than him.
They're both trying to counter.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if he could go with that style against Munguia, because Munguia is for sure going to push the pace on him. But I think Munguia's too much. He's too tough, and he's got a chin on him too. So even if Berlanga is able to catch him flush, I don't think he has enough power to drop or to even really phase the train that, or the freight train that Munguia is. So I think Munguia would be too much and would stop him in the later rounds.
Yeah. Plus, I don't even think Munguia has ever been hurt.
I mean, Derevyanchenko
hurt him.
Derevyanchenko clocked him.
Yeah.
Derevyanchenko for sure. But other than that, like, he has remained heavy chin.
He's got a good chin, and granted.
So you guys aren't sold on Berlanga's power? 16 KOs, bro, in the first round, consecutive.
Okay, if you were really to look at his opponents, the first 16, very much padded.
Bums.
Very much protected, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, he's been very much protected. Top rank matchmaking did a very good job of, for sure, upping Berlanga. Yes, he does have power. They call him the chosen one for a reason. But once you go up to the elite level, the elites do other things to go around an opponent that is heavy-handed in both hands. So Berlanga still hasn't sold me on that. He just relies solely on his power.
Well, but you think he does have power, though, right? You think he possesses power? Yeah.
Sure. Well, you gotta have some power in order to get all those knockouts in a row in the first round, especially. But yeah, I mean, ever since they stepped him up in opposition, he has. I mean, like I said, this was his first knockout win since 2020, and his last opponent who got was a first round knockout in 2020, and then the next fight was against Demal Nicholson, who was his the level up of opposition, and that's where he started getting the decision wins. So. I mean, Berlanga, in my opinion, he is a power puncher, but I think his power is a bit overrated in that aspect.
Yeah, I don't think it's like crazy.
It's not crazy. Like, it's enough to hurt. Maybe if he respectable. If he lands flush, it has the power to hurt you or even drop you. But I mean, if you're a high elite fighter at 168. I mean, you're a tough motherfucker. Second off, you like you mentioned, you have different skills or different techniques or different ways to neutralize Berlanga from even unloading that missile on you.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So yeah, Berlanga, called out Canelo. People online were just like, what the fuck? Why, bro? Like,
well, I mean, he is mandatory now.
He is mandatory.
So it's kind of crazy to think that like he's mandatory.
Yeah, it's kind of. It's boxing, man. I don't know why. I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyways, I mean, the people there in the venue were like, yeah, let's get
They're all Puerto Ricans in there, bro. Get his whole porra there, bro. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So Berlanga called out Canelo. And Berlanga's not the only one who's trying to get a Canelo fight. Let's move on to the landscape of 168. The main man is Canelo Álvarez, as he is undisputed, has all the belts within that weight division. Now, there are decent amount of options for him for his next possible fight on May 4th, which has not been announced yet, which is a little bit surprising, which I'm like, at this point, we should already know who Canelo is fighting for May. But as of right now, we have no idea who he's fighting, but there are names out there. First off, we have Edgar Berlanga, who just called him out and has been a little name that's been thrown out weeks prior. But we also have the main man, David Benavidez, as well as Jaime Munguia, Jermall Charlo, who's a very surprising one for me, and Terrence Crawford. Now, if you guys had the option to pick Canelo's next opponent out of those names I just mentioned, which one would you pick and why?
I think it's time that we get a Benavidez fight. I mean, I think that's what the fans want to see, right? Like, I think it's been too long. I've had to, defend Canelo for so long because now I'm not gonna. Because I feel if he doesn't fight him in 2024, then I can officially say, yeah, Canelo's running. He's ducking him. Because Benavidez has finally done enough. He stepped up to the plate and he's fought in, ex-opponents of Canelo like Caleb Plant. And then he also beat Demetrius Andrade. And he just has a lot of hype around him, a lot of momentum. So I think it's time. I think it's time to fight him. I think the business is there. They can sell the fight now. And they can sell it as a Mexico versus Mexico, even though Benavidez is only half Mexican. Yeah. But
he's actually a quarter.
So he's even less.
He's Ecuadorian.
But they call him Mexican Monster, which is kind of strange. But,
to cater for the Mexican fans.
Yeah, cater for the Mexican fans. But I think that fight's next, man. That's Canelo's next opponent. It scares me, though, that they have not announced it. And it's like, it's only a couple months away, so it kind of tells me that Benavidez might not be the next opponent.
Yeah, I don't think he is, especially because I think there's a few things, but I feel like maybe his management isn't doing the best job as well. Apparently, he's done quite a bit of talking, and this is Samson Boxing Promotions. He said that he sent apparently $50 million contract to Canelo, $60 million contract to Canelo, and then he just deleted the tweets. So, I mean, well, you know, that's a whole different thing. Maybe that's just business talk and whatnot. But, yeah. Benavidez has done enough. He does have the credibility to be Canelo's next opponent. Mm-hmm. And if you really look at the whole landscape, he's done the most. Mm-hmm. You know, he's already been champion twice in that weight class, and now he wants to become a three-time. So I mean, I don't see any other person that deserves a position to fight Canelo other than him.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think everyone agrees. David Benavidez is the man who deserves a shot at Canelo because, I mean, he fought Caleb Plant, he destroyed him. Well, not destroyed. He actually did in the second half of the fight. Second half of the fight, yeah. He beat him and then he destroyed Demetrius Andrade. But, I mean, if that fight doesn't happen, yeah, people are going to... I mean, Canelo is already one of the most criticized fighters in the planet, and he always has been heavily criticized, especially by not only just the boxing media, but even his fellow countrymen. You know, the Mexican media have really always been pressing on him about certain issues, about his fights, you know, about his performances. This kind of reminds me of the time when he was people were claiming he was ducking Golovkin. Yeah, because people were saying, you know, Golovkin was destroying the entire 160 division. Every single opponent, he was dropping them, he was KOing them, and people were saying, hey, fight Golovkin. And you know, the fight wasn't made until, you know, a couple years after. But during that time when he wasn't fighting Golovkin, people were claiming he was ducking, and this kind of reminds me of that. Obviously it's different. Mm-hmm. It's different time now. Canelo's more on the regression, and Benavidez is more on the on the come up, on the uprising.
But I think it still holds true. I mean, even like, well, yeah, everyone was hating on Canelo. I remember I was hating on Canelo too. Yeah, this was back during the time. I remember so vividly the Golovkin era, because everyone was I think people forget that Canelo has been like in the stage for such a long time. So he's had like things like this happen before, where a lot of people criticize him for not taking a fight or claiming he's ducking. This is the exact same thing that happened, with Golovkin. Everyone was saying he was ducking. I was saying he was ducking. And then the fight finally happened. So I think this fight has to happen this year, you know? It's or else then it is ducking. I'm gonna be honest.
I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't mind if it's someone else in May, just as long as he fights Benavidez in September.
Yeah, if it's still this year, then I'm okay with it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
I'm okay with Jaime Munguia fight in May 4th.
You think so?
I'd rather have, if he doesn't fight Benavidez in May, I'd rather have Jaime Munguia over a Terrence Crawford.
I want Terrence
over
Crawford.
A Charlo. And way over a Berlanga, honestly, because I mean that you can sell that too. It's a Mexican rivalry, not rivalry, but Mexican showdown for sure. Caters towards the Mexican fans, and you can make big money off of that, especially since Jaime Munguia is coming off a big win against a mutual opponent in John Ryder, and he not only was able to drop him multiple times, he stopped him, something Canelo was not able to do. So I think that is the best fight, the best alternative fight in case we don't get a David Benavidez fight in May.
But I mean, Canelo has publicly said that his next opponent is going to be American, so that takes him off the list.
Yeah, that's the issue.
So then, what are we looking at? Terrence Crawford or Charlo?
Charlo.
Dude, I think Charlo is one of the.
Yeah,
him and Berlanga are the worst ones in my opinion.
I don't know why he's fighting Charlo.
Charlo, he recently came back against Jose Benavidez Jr. back in November, I believe, and you know he got the win against him, coming off a long layoff. But I don't know, I just don't think Charlo's really in there like mentally, and I don't for him to get an opportunity to fight Canelo, it's just, I don't know, it just something doesn't sit right with me.
It doesn't sit right.
It's like why does he deserve it over a David Benavidez or even a Jaime Munguia? At that point, it just, I don't know. There's got to be a reason for that.
It's because that's a different Charlo. Like a couple years ago, if this fight would have happened, I think a lot of people would be more happy about it. But now Charlo, he's struggled a lot with like mental health. He had like 2-year layoff, and then he finally came back. Like this is a different Charlo. This isn't prime Charlo, the one we saw, beat Derevyanchenko all those years ago. So I think that's why a lot of people are criticizing him, and I don't think Canelo should fight Charlo. Like it's unnecessary.
Yeah, I feel like if Charlo is his next opponent, it's just really just business. I would say so, like from that aspect. Because other than that, he does not deserve the credit. He doesn't have the credibility. He hasn't fought in a while. Well, I guess he fought Benavidez Jr., but I mean, Benavidez Jr. isn't the A level.
And he was going up in weight.
And he's going up in weight as well. It was the first time fighting at 168, and Charlo did struggle for a little bit. You know, that ring rust was apparent. So yeah, he doesn't have the credits to fight Canelo at all. I wouldn't like that fight.
Yeah, between him and Berlanga. I mean, obviously the Berlanga fight is the worst fight. I think I'm not a big fan of that.
Maybe Berlanga could save the show. Could save the day because he is American. And he was born in New York. You know, he's Puerto Rican, but he was born in New York / America.
No, I think Terrence Crawford needs to save us.
No.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean,
I'd rather see that than Charlo. Honestly.
yeah.
I'd rather see that than Charlo or Berlanga.
But then that also falls in the line of the criticism because
it's a lose-lose.
He wins. He beats Crawford, and people are gonna be like, he came up in a weight like 3-4 weight divisions. He loses, they're gonna be like, bruh, you got beat by a dude 3-4 weight divisions below you, man.
It's a lose-lose.
It's a very big lose-lose, and I know Canelo even mentioned it.
Yeah, I think he said he's not gonna do that.
He's not gonna do it. Yeah, and honestly, that would make no sense for him.
It wouldn't make sense.
Yeah. I mean, Crawford, it seems to be kind of chasing it a little bit because I mean,
he likes edging it on.
He likes, and it's a huge payday. I mean,
big money fight
because Terrence Crawford, arguably the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world.
No, I think he is the number 1.
He is the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world, taking on the face of boxing. Like, come on, bro, that's a big money fight. The money that would sell, that would make millions on the gate and pay-per-view. So I mean, it makes financial sense, but does it make actual boxing sense? No, not really. And Canelo knows it, so he's obviously not really tailoring for that one. But I do feel like he's more tailored or more in favor of fighting a Charlo though, which I think is just the dumbest thing. I'm not a big fan of it.
Plus Charlo hasn't been training apparently either.
Yeah.
So but with Benavidez, I mean, it looks like he's moving up to 175 now.
Yeah,
it looks like he's done with Canelo's bullshit and just decided to move up a weight class.
Yeah, he's fighting some Ukrainian dude. Who's been off. He's had quite a bit of long layoff as well. If I'm not mistaken, he's also sparred him as well. I remember seeing a clip. The Ukrainian dude, I can't remember his name.
Alexander Vodich.
Yeah, Alexander. He was at RGBA, Robert Garcia's boxing academy, and Elie Setback was interviewing him, I guess, because he does that quite a bit. And he was like, "Hey, how was sparring Benavidez?" And Alexander goes, "Oh yeah, he kicked my ass."
Bro. Oh no.
Yeah, so that's Benavidez's next opponent.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I think this move really is just to like, in spite of Canelo, just be like, fuck you, Canelo, or something.
I mean, well, first off, like you said, Alexander Vodich, his last, he fought against Better Beef.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Better Beef stopped him in like the 11th or 10th round. Then 10th round, he stopped him late. But Vodich during that time was undefeated. He's one of the champions.
I think I remember him then. Yeah.
He was known during that time, but this was 2019. After that fight, he retired. Oh, and then 2023, last year, he came back and had 3 fights, and he's won all of them. But he's already at the age 36 years old. Clearly not. I mean, 3-year layoff or 4-year layoff, whatever it is. It's a long time, and I mean, I know he's been fighting pretty consistently last year to try to get back in the groove, but I mean, you're going up against a big rising star, and David Benavidez, who's relentless, who's a monster, who's been really hurting his opponents. I don't see this going any other way than a David Benavidez knockout. I think David Benavidez would stop him. I think he'd do easy work on him.
Yeah, I think it'd be the same as like the Bobo fight, the Andrade fight. I think maybe the first 2 might be competitive, first 3, and then Benavidez just gets that engine started. And once he gets that engine started, you can't stop him. Yeah, like he is just a monster, a wrecking ball, just goes forward. So even a move up to 175, I don't even think that's that difficult for him because he's a big boy. I mean, if you see him when he's like not training and then he goes back in the gym, you could tell that
they
boy
always make fun of him.
They make fun. They call him a fat boy because he is huge. He gets really big. He's a tall guy. So I think he's big for 168. He could 175 could also be his weight. Who knows?
Yeah, it'd be very, very much easy for him to make that weight. He looks like a heavyweight when he's not training this move. So yeah, moving him to 175, he might even look better at 175 because he doesn't have to cut that much weight. So yeah, this would be quite a bit an easy fight for him. It's not for a belt, but I mean
For the interim.
for the interim. So yeah, he would be in line to fight the winner of Bivol and Beterbiev.
Yeah, that's a pretty good fight.
That's a great fight.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Bivol against Benavidez or Bivol or Beterbiev against Benavidez.
Yeah.
Whichever one. It's battle of the bees.
He,
bro.
he couldn't get a big title fight at 168. Moves up to 175, gets the champion there,
And then moves back down.
and then moves back down and challenges Canelo.
And he's like, "Hey,
finally.
Canelo, I did something you couldn't do.
Yeah,
I beat
damn.
Bivol."
Imagine,
Yeah.
dude, the storyline would go crazy.
Oh man, people, and then Canelo would be like, more pressure on him
yeah.
too.
He'd have to at that
fight
point.
him. At that point, you gotta fight him,
Yeah.
man. At that point, but yeah. So David Benavidez, I was pretty surprised that he's if he does go this route, it's a very surprising move. And I do think it's just in spite of Canelo, because he's not getting that fight. And supposedly there was little rumors coming out that he's only willing to go 175 if he's not able to land a May 4th fight against Canelo Álvarez. So let's see who they decide to announce as Canelo's opponent. Maybe it'll be announced within the next couple weeks, hopefully by sometime in March. Because if it's not announced by March, that's a little panic right there. Because PBC, they're with Prime and they're trying to, get start off well with Prime and make sure that they're able to get more funding from them or a bigger budget to create bigger shows. And if they're not able to land Canelo Álvarez on May 4th or any time in May, that's a big loss for them, a big financial loss.
Because Canelo always fights on May and September.
Yeah.
So you just missed a big payday in May.
Yeah, so that looked bad for PBC in my opinion. So I know they're feeling the pressure. Al Heyman's feeling the pressure a bit to try to decide on who the opponent is, because there's been a little reports or rumors out there on social media saying how Al Heyman wants him to fight Jaime Munguia. But Canelo is set on wanting to fight an American for May. So there's a little dispute on the opponent agreement that they're both having between Al Heyman and Canelo's team. So those are just the rumors. Not sure. They're not, actual official reported, but that's what's floating around, that they're just having disagreements with the opponent. So I'm interested to see how this little drama goes, or how it ends.
Yeah, it's taking too much time. I just want to, because Canelo always fights in May. Like we know this for a couple of years now, so just waiting on the announcement.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So Benavidez moving up 175, maybe. And you know what? That news came out the same day that Gervonta Davis it was announced or agreed his return to take on the Ghost Frank Martin for a June showdown or a summertime showdown. Now, for me personally, first off, it's the return of Gervonta Davis after his KO win against Ryan Garcia. So it's going to be well over a year if this fight does happen in June. So that's a pretty long layoff. He obviously had some,
Prison time.
some
Jail time.
He did?
Well, yeah, he was house arrest.
Oh,
He
yeah,
had
I
some
remember.
personal issues, which is why he was not able to fight after the Ryan Garcia fight. But now he's back as he takes on the Ghost Frank Martin. In my opinion, I think this is a great comeback fight, or a great fight in general for Gervonta Davis, because I posted on the community tab, what are your thoughts about Gervonta Davis' career? And a lot of people were very, very critical on him, saying, oh, he's nothing, he's done nothing in his career, overhyped, this and that, blah, blah. Well, in my opinion, this Frank Martin is one of the top 10 best fighters at lightweight at 135. So if Gervonta Davis is able to not only beat him but destroy him or put out a spectacular performance against Frank Martin, you can really catapult Gervonta Davis back into maybe the top 10 pound for pound. What are your guys' thoughts about that fight?
I think it's a great fight. Yeah, I think it's. I'm surprised, Tank. I feel Tank sometimes does receive a lot of hate, and I don't really understand why. Because I feel like he has made some pretty big fights happen.
Name one.
Other than the Ryan Garcia fight.
Hector Luis Garcia.
Shut up.
Hey, he's a champion. He was a champion at one,
You need to move up, though.
So it's a close enough weight. But But I think this fight is good. Frank Martin, he's a top guy. I think he's a bit on the older side, if I'm correct. If I remember correctly. Early 30s? Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's a solid guy at 135. He's kind of like one of those unknown guys. He doesn't really have like a big name or a big brand. Big following. Like he's not a Ryan Garcia. Yeah, he's not a Ryan, like he isn't known household, but he's a very solid guy. And for Tank to take this fight after a year layoff, coming back from jail and house arrest and all that stuff, I think it's a good showing because he's not taking a tune-up. This for sure is not a tune-up. And if Tank is able to show, that if he can outclass this guy and he can dominate him, then people, I think, will finally give him the credit and be like, okay, this guy's top 10 pound for pound in the world.
Yeah, I'm going to be someone who's going to give him the credit that, finally, he's a good fighter, but for sure, I think he's someone who's been very much protected, especially earlier in his career. Actually, even up until now, for sure getting him the right fights at the right moment, at the right time. And he said it himself. He goes, I'm with Floyd Mayweather because, he, like, within due time, like, I get the fights that I need. But at the moment, like, I'm just here fighting the fights at the right time, at the right moment. So, business translation, or that means, I'm very much well protected. I got a big team behind me and whatnot. So, and even though you can still see his first earlier fights were just to build him up hella. Like, it was against guys who were Mexican or Hispanic, mostly on the flat foot.
Flat-footed Mexican, man.
But he is a guy who very much has, not only is he talented, but he has very much a lot of skills, and he has a higher ring IQ. I think this fight against Frank Martin, if he's able to make Frank Martin look average, or if he's able to stop him, oh yeah, I'm definitely sold on Gervonta.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, like you mentioned, Gervonta Davis receives a lot of criticism just because, they be saying, oh, he's making opponents go up in weight, or he's making too much rehydration clauses and stuff like that, and, he hasn't fought really anyone that big of like an actual real champion. You can make the argument that Pedraza was the champion. People say that's the only legitimate champion that he made. That he
knocked his ass out.
He did. That's the great one. That is a great one too. But people, lately people have been really heavily critical of Gervonta Davis. I mean, he's coming off a win against Ryan Garcia. Like we mentioned in the last podcast,
an influencer fighter,
a YouTuber fighter.
Yeah, he's not a champ. He has never been a champion. He's just like a highly glorified contender, in my opinion. But this fight, like you mentioned, if he's able to make Frank Martin look average, I will be sold on Gervonta Davis, because Frank Martin, I mean, let's also put this into perspective. Frank Martin is not coming off a very good win either.
It was very boring and close.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
No, that's not Rivera.
No, his last opponent was Artem Haratunyan. Oh, yeah. And this was during the summer. And I remember watching this fight because Frank Martin was losing the fight, in my opinion. Yeah, he was losing the fight. And it wasn't until the later rounds where Frank Martin was able to, show the real dog that he has in him. And he dropped Haratunya late on in the 12th round. And he was able to come out with the UD decision. But the scorecards were pretty close. So Frank Martin is not coming off a very good win. He himself said it. He didn't feel sharp that day or that night, and he's looking to try to make his return back, even greater, his redemption, even though he didn't lose. But also Frank Martin has been heavily criticized too, because there's the whole he's ducked Shakur Stevenson for a Gervonta Davis payday during the fall, I believe, of last year, and the fight never happened against Gervonta Davis, and people were like, Frank Martin's
duck.
He's an actual ghost when it comes to fighting actual top contenders, this and that. They call
to be found.
Yeah, exactly. So people were very critical on Frank Martin, but it looked like he was telling the truth. He does got that Gervonta Davis fight coming up, and maybe it's now happening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's been signed, but they said agreed. They don't. We still don't even have a date or nothing.
We don't have the date.
Yeah, no details. No weight. Exactly.
It was for Gervonta Davis lightweight belt,
135. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I can see it.
has a belt.
Remember, he's the emo champ now.
He's the emo champ.
Remember, they just emailed him a couple weeks ago, telling him he's a world champ. After Haney went up in weight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So he's the WBA.
I don't remember which one.
I think
WBA.
Rolly's 140, bro. We're talking about 135.
I forgot.
Yeah. So Frank Martin, I mean, and this, look, Yeah, you guys are a bit more critical on Tank, but I think I'm pretty sold on Tank. I think he's a phenomenal fighter, and I think he is going to show out a crazy performance against Frank Martin. Honestly, I think he's going to stop him. Yeah, I think he's going to stop him. He's going to. Yeah, early prediction. I think he's going to stop him. Tank is so calculated, and he might take the first couple rounds. Of course, he might lose them. He might pull a performance like Rolly's and just like goes around the ring, not really engaging. And then when you least expect it, just pulls out a crazy power punch timed perfectly, knocks Frank Martin out. That's what I think is gonna happen. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Frank Martin is a southpaw. Crafty as well. He's very smart. He did start boxing at such a late age. I think it was like early 20s maybe and stuff like that. But since he started boxing, he's definitely, I think because he started so late, I think what he did in order to balance it out, he is really smart in there. He's such a thinking fighter. He thinks quite a bit, almost like a chess match. And so, and I think he does possess a bit of power, but for sure he's very athletic. Yeah, so that also helps him win the fights and stuff like that. But yeah, man, I don't think this is going to be close at all. I think Tank is going to have trouble for sure.
Oh, you think so?
I think so, yeah. They call him the Ghost for a reason. Like, it's really hard for someone to actually connect with him, to connect a punch, especially a strong punch for Frank. His last fight, okay, not this last fight, but the one before that, Michael Rivera, top 10, maybe top 5 lightweight, and he made him look very much average. He even stopped.
I don't think he was a top 10, was he?
I think during the time he.
Oh, during that time, okay. Yeah, I know sure. the guy that looks like Muhammad Ali, right? Yeah. I know who you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, he made him look very much average. He even stopped him. Yeah.
He didn't stop him. He dropped him.
But he gave him a concussion, and then he got to the hospital afterwards. Yeah.
He made him look amateur. I remember.
Yeah. So if maybe Frank Martin is one of those guys who really brings it up, brings his A game when it's another elite fighter, and stuff like that. So.
Well, I mean, besides Michael Rivera, Frank Martin, I mean...
He hasn't fought anybody, let's be honest.
I mean, Jackson Martinez. I mean, yeah.
Let's be honest here,
you can make the case that he hasn't fought a big,
a big... I mean, that's why he's unknown. Because, and that's why a lot of people were giving him shit when he rejected that Shakur fight. Because he said, like, he wants now these top 10 guys. He's been overlooked for so long. And then finally, a top 10 guy gives him an opportunity. And then he says no. Like, because his resume really isn't that impressive. That Michael Rivera fight was impressive, but besides that, like, he hasn't really done nothing. He hasn't fought any big name guys in the sport.
A big name guy at 135.
He's fought, but like, you can name fighters. You can name fighters from his career, though. Yeah.
7 years ago.
No, a couple years ago.
That was like 20.
Oh yeah, Pedraza was, but he's fought more guys.
135.
Pitbull.
Pitbull, Rolly.
Okay, man. I was joking, but.
Hey, Rolly's a world champion.
Wait. Actually, I like it when people be saying that Pitbull beat Gervonta Davis.
I know a lot of people say that.
I don't understand why.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think he beat him.
No,
I don't think he beat him. I
and he was also one-handed.
He was one-handed, and he got beaten. That's one of the crazy ones. That one always amazes me how people act about. There will be like, he lost against Pitbull though, and I'm like, what? I'm like, no way, guys. But yeah, so that's the Gervonta Davis and Frank Martin fight. Hopefully, we get a set date, a set venue, a set weight, first of all. Yeah. And make sure, okay, you know what? What if Gervonta Davis decides he's like, hey, rehydration clause? Boom. What are your thoughts about that? If there's a rehydration clause for some reason, or a catch weight, what if it's a catch weight?
Or like higher than 135?
Yeah, like let's say like 137, 38.
137, 38. I mean,
if it's
that doesn't really say.
Well, if it's 135 and a half, no, dude, it's got to be 135. He's got to be defending his belt.
Well, I think
the true champion at 135. You have to defend it, bro. You are a champion in that weight class. You can't be like putting all these stipulations and whatnot. It's got to be at 135.
Well, I don't even think that's gonna happen, honestly, because they're both 135 fighters. Or I mean, Frank Martin is.
Yeah.
But Tank, he floats between 35 and 40. and now he's a 135 champion, so it only makes sense.
It makes sense.
And also, I don't think there's gonna be a rehydration clause because Frank Martin is a 135 pounder, so it's like
It could be. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but I mean, Tank is the 8 side, so he is able to call the shots.
yeah, but
I'm gonna be very critical if he does give him. Oh, it's gonna be out of catch weight. It's gonna be hydration clause and stuff like that. I'm gonna be very critical. Yeah, it's gotta be a 135.
135. Okay.
No, he's been giving a lot of people a rehydration clause. That's why they always criticize him.
Ryan Garcia?
Mario Barrios.
He gave him a rehydration
Mario
clause?
Barrios. He came out like a couple months back saying that he had a rehydration clause.
All these years ago.
He had
all
a
these years later, he
rehydration
came back with
He had a rehydration
Yeah, take
clause.
that whooping like a man, Mario. Making excuses now.
I mean, he
huh?
did, but he still gave him the rehydration clause.
You look at Gervonta Davis's career also, like,
You guys are hating a little too much.
no.
Insane.
But it's cool, we're being realistic.
No.
Okay, look.
Tank. Okay, I'm not saying he's fought like Shakur Stevenson, but he's fought top 10 guys.
At
Like
135.
guys that have skill
At
for a very
135.
long time.
At 135.
Let's go down his list.
Okay,
then.
his last fight, Ryan Garcia.
Potential world champion. Has the potential to be a world champion.
With a rehydration clause.
Okay, so now we're
With a
going into
rehydration
stipulations.
Ryan Garcia had no
He
big.
hasn't fought in 35 since what, like 2021?
No, that's what I'm. No, he literally fought against Ryan Garcia in 2023 at 135.
Yeah, but he hadn't fought at 135-ish, 137 since like 2021.
Gervonta or Ryan Garcia?
Garcia. His last two opponents were at 140. His
Yeah,
last two fights were at 140.
but that's not what. Okay, the point is I'm trying to make.
135 pounder.
He's a 135 pounder.
No.
Or no, I guess he wasn't,
No,
but
yeah,
he was going up.
Yeah.
But
Wait, okay, so we had Ryan Garcia. Before that, we had Hector Luis Garcia.
he was a world champion.
At 130,
At
bro.
130.
He moved him up to 134. They fought at 135. And then he fought Rolly.
A world champion at 140.
He still wasn't a world
At
champion.
135?
I don't even
Of course
know.
he was. Why would he not be?
Bro,
You think he's less than top 10. He's a good fighter. I mean, he's like in the elite, but he's not like the best.
I want you
Obviously,
to say that Rolly is a good fighter.
he's a good fighter. His weakness is just Barroso
And Gervonta Davis.
and Gervonta Davis.
Before Rolly, it was Pitbull. Before
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'll give him that. 35. Yeah.
Before Pitbull, it was Mario Barrios, which was the rehydration clause, and then before that was Leo Santa Cruz, where he moved them up to 126,
Yeah.
and then before
Hey, that was Leo's choice.
Yeah, it was-
135.
that was at 130. That fight was at
130.
That fight was at 130.
Yeah. So even Tank went down. You know how much he struggles to make 130. Hey, you
But-
know that
but
he's a
before
big
that-
boy.
But before that, he fought Gamboa, and that was at 135.
Yeah, before that, yeah.
Gamboa been fight. He fights at 140, bro. Gamboa been fighting
I'm
in those
just
higher
saying,
weights
the reason why-
for a while.
The reason why at least I am critical is because he picks and chooses depending on his opponent, the weight class and whatnot, for sure. Like Gamboa, he fought 135, but then the next opponent is at 130.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
then
I mean,
the one after that, he makes him go up to the 135.
But he also travels to a lot of weight classes. 130, 135, 140.
Well, I mean, there's also he puts rehydration clauses, bro.
He puts rehydration clauses. He does, but I think it's a little. But
No.
he still fights like guys with at least world titles and stuff. It's not like he's fighting Uber drivers.
Mario Barrios was not a legitimate
No, he wasn't.
140.
He wasn't.
Yeah. He wasn't even top 10 at 140.
Josh Taylor was the king during that time. Was the kingpin at 140.
Yeah.
He had all the belts, and they. I don't know. This is not even Gervonta Davis's fault. The issue is with the governing bodies, with all these dumb belts being put in place. So, I mean, technically on paper, you can make the argument that Gervonta Davis is a 3-weight division champion. But if you look more deeper into it, then you can make an argument that he's not. In my opinion, I don't think he is. I think he is a 2-weight division champion, which is the 126 and now the 135, since he was
Email.
I mean, I guess he's an email
got a
champion.
Gmail?
He got an email
Congrats, you're champion.
yeah. But here's the thing. I'm critical on his career. I do think Gervonta Davis, his skill sets, he is one of the best in boxing. I will give him that. But I want to see that skill being displayed against top fighters, like actual big name, a Shakur Stevenson, a Devin Haney. Also, Gervonta Davis gets criticized a lot because he be talking a lot on Twitter. He, I remember during the Teofimo and Ortiz's fight, he tweeted out saying, both these guys are food or something like that. And then people just replied saying, bro, just you're not even fighting anyone, you know, like who are you to speak, you know, because people are now starting to be more critical on Gervonta Davis based on, you know, just the lack of activity or just the lack of opposition, quality opposition. So yeah, that's the main thing about Gervonta.
Yeah, it's true. And I'm not, yeah, he hasn't fought obviously the best of the best, but a lot of fighters, you can always find something to criticize about fighters. And I think sometimes, like, with Tank, he has fought some names. Of course, there, if you look deeper, this and that, but at least he fights them. You know what I'm saying? At least he's not fighting like, he's not Berlanga and fighting like nobodies.
Yeah.
He's fighting not guys with big names, guys who actually have skill. I think we can get Rolly, although he's not the best, he does have skill. There's a reason he's made it so far in boxing. Yeah. So yeah, I have definitely sold on Tank Davis. Of course, he hasn't fought the best, but. Yeah.
Well, like, look at Canelo. Like, people always criticize them. Like, Lara, you know, you're like, oh, you're ducking Lara. Or even Austin Trout during the time. Golovkin. And the thing is, he still ended up fighting them. He literally fought them. Yeah, maybe some of them were controversial. But he still fought them. Gervonta Davis hasn't done that. He hasn't fought them, and that's my issue with it. He's a great fighter with the potential to be the very best of his era, but I just feel that his
still somewhat protected.
I think he just managed a bit too clean or a bit too safely. Which, I mean, it is the Mayweather way, you know. It's very yeah. I mean, that's what it is ultimately at the end of the day, but. I just want him to fight. This Frank Martin fight is a big one for me because I do think Frank Martin is a quality opponent, and if he's able to show out against Frank Martin, then I will for sure give him his props.
You will? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
We'll see what he does to Frank Martin because.
Frank Martin wins KO.
Imagine
first round. Well, I believe did we cover everything? Oh, actually, let's briefly talk about. Hey, yo, Thomas the Spartan. What happened, bro? What happened, man? I was watching the fight. I bet the house on you. God, bro, this is my last day here. I'm going home. Listen to this. But breakout boxing, baby. Anyway, I think we covered everything. Yeah, I think so too. Let us know down below. What do you guys think about Gervonta Davis, man? Is his career padded, or is he actually a top 10, you know, face of boxing type of fighter? I do think he's one of the faces of boxing, but is he one of a top 10 pound for pound fighter? Let us know down below. Also, let us know, who should Canelo Álvarez fight next? Should he fight Berlanga, or should he take on, you know, his mandatory, which would be David Benavidez? Let us know down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. Follow us on all our social medias in the link in the description below. We are on X, TikTok, and Instagram as well. Join our Discord. Link is also the first link down in the description below, and help us grow this community up a bit. But yeah, so you had me, Pablo, and I am with Rudo and Asa, and this was the Last Round Podcast. Thank you for watching.